Thursday, January 23rd, 2005 is now in order. Although I might look like him and we frequently get confused for each other, I am not now, nor have I ever been Omar Fatah. Senator Fatah can't be here today, so you get second string. Today, we're going to have an informational presentation from the Office of Higher Education on the state grant program and the governor's recommended changes. Then secondly, we'll hear testimony from colleges and universities about the impact of the state grant program on them individually. So folks, if we could start with our first order of business, Commissioner Olson and your posse, if you would, please. Please state your full name for the record and commence your testimony when you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the record, Dennis Olson, serve as the Commissioner of the Minnesota Office of Higher Education. And I'm going to be just taking one of the slides here in the middle of the presentation. The bulk will be led by Nicole Whalen from our research division. So I'll hand it over to her at this time, Mr. Chair, members, and allow her to introduce herself.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members of the committee, for the record, my name is Nicole Whalen, and I am a financial aid research analyst for the Office of Higher Education. So I am going to be walking through a kind of deep dive into the state grant program, as well as touching on some aspects of Northstar Promise as well. So I'm just going to dive in and get started. So to start, a little bit of background on our state grant program. So it is the largest financial aid program in the state, both in terms of dollars awarded and students served. It was originally started in 1969, and the goal of the program is to promote college access for students in Minnesota, as well as college choice. The grant is available at both public and private institutions in the state, provided that institutions choose to participate in the program. It operates on an underlying principle of a design for shared responsibility. And that basically entails that, the premise is that there are three primary entities who benefit from the student's education. Those are the student themselves, the student's family, as well as the public, state of Minnesota. And so the premise is that the cost of that education should be shared among those three groups. The program is designed to work in connection with the federal Pell Grant, and it is directed towards the students with the highest financial need. Minnesota, overall for financial aid spending, Minnesota ranked 13th in the nation last year in terms of financial aid spending per full-time undergraduate, and a bulk of that is the state grant program. We moved up 4 spots from the year prior, so that's great news. So we are just finished putting the finishing touches on our state grant end of year report for 2024, but I'll give you a look into how we closed out the year last year. We awarded grants to about 71,500 students, and that actually represents a 6% increase in state grant recipients over fiscal year 2023, and that's the first time in 10 years that we have increased state grant recipients year over year. About 2/3 of the recipients are dependent students, and about 15% of students overall are student parents. By and large, most students, well over 2/3, attend a public college or university in the state. So a quick look at some additional demographics for students in the program. About half of recipients identify as Black, Indigenous, or persons of color, and nearly 60% are female. And half of students are between the ages of 20 and 23, while about 30% of students are what we might refer to as adult learners or over the age of 24. Here's a breakdown of where state grant recipients attend college. About half of recipients attend a four-year university, and about half attend a two-year institution. Of the students attending two-year institutions, the vast majority attend our Minnesota State College system. And of the four-year students, attendance among recipients is split pretty evenly between the Min State 4 years, the University of Minnesota, and Minnesota's private nonprofit institutions. Overall, a very small number of state grant recipients attend private for-profit institutions in the state. And so that's recipients, but then there's a slightly different trend with actual dollars awarded for the state grant program. So because a state grant is tied to tuition and fees and the cost of that student's education, institutions with higher tuition and fees will receive larger state grant awards. So when we look at total state grant dollars awarded by institution, 80% of total awards last year were made to four-year institutions, and they do have higher tuition and fees than our two-year college system, so those awards tend to be larger on average. Of those, of the four-year totals, about 20% go to the Minnesota State University system, and then the remainder is split between the University of Minnesota and private nonprofit institutions in the state. For two-year institutions, the vast majority of dollars awarded to students in two-year programs are made to Minnesota State colleges. All right, looking at this slide, so we're kind of showing here a distribution of state grant recipients by family adjusted gross income. About half of recipients annually have come from families earning less than $40,000 per year. And if you take a look at the graphic here, you can see that by and large, the vast majority of state grant recipients are from families earning less than $100,000 per year. And here we have a look at average combined awards for students. So this is looking at both the state grant as well as the Pell Grant that a student receives by family adjusted gross income. The blue bars on the bottom represent Pell Grants that the student receives, and the striped bars on the top represent state grants. So you can see here that students with lower family incomes do receive the highest combined awards. The average award does decrease as you go up the income scale. And although families with higher incomes receive lower combined award amounts, because they are receiving less Pell Grant, state grant will fill in for that need. So you can see above about 50,000 AGI, which is around where Pell Grant typically cuts off. You can see that state grants fill in for a larger portion of the student's award. And so for that reason, we say that state grants serve low to middle income students in the state. So just like a brief overview of some of the eligibility criteria for the state grant program. In order to receive a state grant, a student must first fill out the FAFSA or the Minnesota DREAM Act application, and they must demonstrate financial need after federal aid has been applied. The budget for the state grant is tuition and fees plus a living and miscellaneous expense allowance that's set in law. And tuition and fees are capped at the highest average tuition and fees for a public institution in the state. So for four-year institutions, that's the University of Minnesota. And for two-year institutions, that would be the highest cost community and technical college in the state, which can vary from year to year. Additionally, all students must have a high school diploma or a GED or be at least 17 years old. They must be a Minnesota resident, and they must attend a Minnesota-based institution that participates in the program. So all of our public institutions participate in the state grant program, and a large proportion of our private institutions participate in the program, but they can pick and choose whether to participate from year to year. So you'll see sometimes, especially for smaller schools, they may or may not participate every year. Additionally, the student must not have earned a bachelor's degree, they cannot be in student loan default, or be more than 30 days behind on child support, and they can only receive a grant for the equivalent of 12 semesters. So state grant is considered a need-based program. It does not look at merit for the student, whether that's academic merit or some other kind of accomplishment, and it only looks at the student's financial need. There's no demographic factors either that are included in deciding whether a student receives a grant. The student's award might vary depending on a number of factors, and so those are going to include things like family income, which institution they've chosen to attend, and that's because tuition and fees are going to vary by institution. How many credits they enroll for. State grants are prorated based on the attendance level of the student, so students enrolling full-time will receive larger awards than students enrolling part-time. And then additionally, how much a Pell Grant the student receives is going to impact the size of their state grant. So when we look at calculating state grants for students, what the state does is we first assign half the cost of the student's education to the student themselves, and then a portion of the remaining cost is assigned to the student's family. And then how much of that portion is that the family is asked to pay depends on a number of factors like family income, household size, and then the dependency status of the student. So in some cases, families are asked to cover the full remaining cost of college, while other families may be asked to cover $0. So every year, twice a year, OHE runs a full simulation of the state grant model and produces projected spending reports for the program. The projection starts with the prior year's state grant applicant data, and then it applies some additional assumptions that are sent to us from external partners, such as estimated changes in enrollment and changes in tuition and fees. So those will largely come from institutions or the systems themselves. And then we also take a look at FAFSA filing patterns to see how the landscape of student financial need may be changing from year to year. And we also compare our projected spending estimates to current year-to-date cash flow for the program to settle on a final estimate. So there's a lot of layers that go on when it comes to state grant projections, and some of those things might be shifting from time to time.
Ms. Wen, I apologize for interrupting, but just a point of clarification very quickly. Enrollment projections from institutions. So are you collecting and aggregating enrollment projections from individual schools? They're the ones who are doing the projections, and then those factor in OHE's projection?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, that is correct. So the institutions and systems themselves will send, let's see, for our public institutions, they will send projections that are broken out by individual institutions. So, for the University of Minnesota, we'll get information on the Twin Cities campus as well as Crookston and Duluth. Same thing for Minn State. So those estimates are applied to each institution in the model. For our private institutions, it's sort of a mix. So in some cases, we will get institution level data. Otherwise, we'll apply an average for, all private for-profit colleges in the state.
Thanks. Again, I apologize for interrupting, but thank you.
Okay, so moving on. So just a few factors that can impact the projections report. Historically, these projections are accurate, tend to be accurate, plus or minus 2%. Though there are a number of external factors that can impact the accuracy of that projection. So the first one is definitely enrollment. If enrollment shifts suddenly, state grant spending will increase or decrease in response to that. So this was particularly noticeable if you look back to like 2010, 2011, during the Great Recession, when we had a number of students enrolling in college as they were unemployed, seeking a career change. So in that instance, state grant spending spiked, and we did have to ration the program. Changes in tuition and fees can also have a continuing impact on the projection. So if tuition and fees increase more than previously estimated, that will increase spending for the program, and then vice versa if they decrease. And then, of course, there's changes to the FAFSA formula. So that's something we are experiencing this year. And it can have a large and unpredictable influence on state grant spending. Typically, the FAFSA is a pretty stable source of information for us, but this year, some major changes to the formula have really thrown a wrench in a lot of our projections. If the projection is off, OHE has a few tools at our disposal to either increase or ration awards. In the case of a projected spending balance, OHE may choose to transfer unused funds from the state grant program to other programs, or vice versa if we project a deficit in the state grant program. We can also increase the living and miscellaneous expense allowance in the second year of the biennium to increase awards to students and spend out unspent funds. And then any funds that remain at the end of the biennium are returned to the general fund. So the state grant does not have a special revenue account like the Northstar Promise Fund, like Northstar Promise does.
Excuse me, Ms. Whalen. Senator Duckworth has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate it. So I think you said a lot of important stuff right there. So I just want to digest that real quick, because one of the questions I was going to save to the end became relevant to what you said. I was going to ask you, if the slide talks about the state grant being used to fill shortfalls, I was going to ask you if the opposite can happen, if there's excess, if money can be shifted to the state grant fund. It sounded like you said yes to that. But then you went on to say something about there's a difference between the state grant fund and the Northstar Promise Fund, and maybe how they can be treated. So could you elaborate that on a little bit more and help me understand the difference, please?
Ms. Whalen?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Senator Duckworth. Yes, so if the state grant, an example of if the state grant program is projected to run a deficit and we have excess funds in another program, there was a few years ago where we had additional funds left over in the tuition reciprocity account. So we were able to backfill state grant in that year with those funds. What I say when I say that we don't have a special revenue fund, so the Northstar Promise program, it has a special revenue account, and what that, I'm not the expert on how that works, but my understanding is that at the end of the biennium, those funds remain in that account to be used for subsequent biennia. Whereas the state grant program, when the biennium is over, if there are remaining funds, they are returned to the general fund, so they're forfeited.
Follow-up, Senator Duckworth?
Thank you. It's a two-parter. Hopefully that's okay. So I'm curious how often we find ourselves with remaining funds in the state grant fund pool that go back to the state. I'm hoping it's almost never, but we could be wrong. And then number two, is there anything that precludes OHE from transferring excess money from the Northstar Promise pool of funds to the state grant fund if the state grant fund is projected or running a deficit and there are unspent or unallocated funds in the Northstar Promise fund? So for example, rather than the state fund running a deficit or be going to zero in the Northstar Promise Fund, not exhausting its funds and just saving it for the future, can that money be moved over to help students?
Ms. Whalen?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Senator Duckworth. Yes, so I believe I would have to look at the transfer language for those particular programs, but I believe that if there were projected unspent funds in Northstar Promise, they could be moved into state grant to cover shortages. And I apologize, I forget the first part of your question.
Senator Duckworth?
I think you've answered for the most part. It sounds like the state grant could maybe pull from that fund. I don't know if it can be vice versa or not. I guess what I'm really asking is this: do both those funds get treated the same, or is one treated differently than the other?
Ms. Whalen?
I would say they're treated the same by the agency, but how they operate at the state budget level is just a bit different.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, Senator Duckworth, with the transfer authority, we may need to come back with a little bit of clarification there, because you may remember last budget session when the Fostering Independence Grant was facing a shortfall, we did seek legislative approval to utilize $5 million from Northstar Promise funds, which had yet to be implemented, and so weren't necessarily deemed excess at that point. It was just an available appropriation to us to backfill the Fostering Independence Grant. But to be safe, sought legislative approval there. It potentially could have been within our transfer authority, but chose to work with the legislature to make that transfer happen. And so we'll have to clarify whether or not, transfer authority is available to us under our current authority for Northstar into state grant.
Thank you, I appreciate it. And maybe somebody can look that up while we're here, because I think that would be good information to have as we continue to have this conversation. Thank you.
Senator Duckworth, if you don't mind, I think your first question was a fascinating one, if I recall it correctly. If not, I'm sure it was even more fascinating. And that's, I think the question was, Ms. Whalen, how frequently is the state grant in surplus as an account, in terms of history? Is it a common thing for that surplus to be? Because it's something that we've actually discussed already a little bit, is treating the state grant, potentially making some alterations so that it too can become a special revenue fund and not have to give its excess back to the general fund, so that there would be greater parity between the two accounts, given that they're both doing the same thing. So do you have any kind of historical context you could provide about how frequently, or is it that uncommon for there to be a surplus in the state grant fund? Is it frequently a large amount? Anything along those lines?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I can speak right now very generally to that question. So in general, if the office projects a substantial surplus or spending balance in the state grant program, we will, before we issue final parameters for that academic year, we will adjust the living and miscellaneous expense allowance to increase grants to students to spend that down so that we're not leaving money on the table. I would say in general, we are usually, I want to say within like a couple percentage points of the total appropriation. So that's, I mean, that is like $5 million, but I mean, it's more than that over the biennium. It's probably $9 million over the biennium, but that's still like a pretty fine margin of error. In terms of, if you wanted to have information on times where we may have adjusted the living and miscellaneous expense allowance and what the projected spending balance would have been before we had adjusted that, we could get you that information.
Thank you, Ms. Whalen. Sorry for the interruption. Commissioner Olson?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, maybe just a quick follow-up to reiterate what Ms. Whalen's saying. Our philosophy within the agency is that the state grant appropriation is for the Minnesota state grant and for the students that are eligible for state grants. And so we do all we can with the limited, release valves and adjustment opportunities we have to, make sure that students maximize their award amounts. And so, to Ms. Whalen's point, adjusting that living and miscellaneous expense is one of the few kind of levers we have to be able to pull to make sure that we zero that out or get as close as we can so the balance doesn't cancel.
Thank you, Commissioner Olson.
And then so that covers if the state grant is projecting a spending balance. But in the event of a projected deficit, we do also have some limited authority to navigate that sort of situation. So if the state grant is projecting a deficit, we are able to do a couple of things in state law. We can increase the assigned student responsibility up from 50% of the cost of college. And we can also increase the assigned family responsibility. And what that does in effect is it reduces the size of student awards. Ideally, it's reducing many awards by a small amount to bring program spending in line with appropriations. And if those options have been exhausted, the office will work to determine if there's other options available to us. Because the program cannot operate on a deficit, we do have to spend within the appropriation for the biennium. Historically, these deficits have been pretty rare for the program, but we are experiencing one this year. And additionally, if the program projects a structural deficit, The office will work with the legislature or to find other options to stabilize the program in the long term. Those could include things like amending parameters and eligibility in state law or increasing the size of the appropriation. Okay, so as I said, the program is experiencing a deficit this year, and I wanted to give a deeper dive into the situation that we're experiencing and kind of show what is impacting state grant spending this year. So I apologize, the chart is probably a little small, but it'll look bigger on your papers. So first off, one of the things we are experiencing this year is a large growth in projected enrollment. This is both for last year and this year. So the chart on the left shows estimated increases in enrollment for last year, fiscal year '24, that were provided to our office from our institutional partners throughout the year. So these estimates begin with the green bar in November of 2023, and they end with the blue bar, which represents the actual change in state grant recipients for fiscal year '24. So you can see that the estimates grew over, by and large, the estimates grew consistently over the course of the year. And in fact, we ended the year with, in many cases, a very significant increase in state grant recipients relative to anticipated enrollment changes. So that's telling us that in some cases enrollment was up, and in some cases, in addition to enrollment being up, there were more needier students enrolling in college that required access to the state grant program. And then on the right, the chart there shows changes in projected enrollment for this current fiscal year. The green bars again represent where we started in November of '23, and then the estimates that institutions have provided have grown pretty steadily since then. As of this fall, the projected increased enrollment is between 2% and 6%, whereas previously institutions were projecting either flat or moderate increases in enrollment. And I will say the large jump in state grant spending in fiscal year '24 did serve to put a large strain on resources for this fiscal year. We did have to transfer funds from fiscal year '25 to cover the shortfall in fiscal year '24, which leaves fewer funds available than for '25. So another thing that is significantly impacting state grant are the changes to the FAFSA. So the big FAFSA simplification change rolled out this year. Our office has consistently attempted to estimate how the FAFSA change would impact this year's students. We worked originally with very limited information, and that information did change consistently throughout the very complicated and rocky rollout process. Ultimately, unfortunately, our estimates were off for this year. And what we did see this year was an enormous shift in the need profile for our state grant applicants. So I have a chart here that kind of shows that shift. So the gray bar represents students applying for the state grant in fiscal year '24. And then the blue bar represents students applying for the state grant in fiscal year '25. So what we saw is that previously, just under 30% of applicants had a family EFC of $0. And now, this year, as of the fall, 43% have an SAI, which is the new term for EFC, of $0 or less. And the vast majority of those students have an SAI of negative $1,500, which is the lowest the scale goes. And because state grant honors negative SAIs, this change is putting a large strain on resources for fiscal year '25. We have more students, again, more students, more need, more needy students. So here's a look at the spending projection from the November projections report. As you can see, all of these factors that I've mentioned are really combining to produce a projected deficit in the program of around $5 million as of the fall. Based on cash flow estimates, I do expect that number to grow as The February projections report is released in just about 2 or 3 weeks. So our office has taken steps to reduce this deficit, first by rationing awards to the extent that we were able to in law, and then we have also implemented a FAFSA deadline of December 1st, 2024 for spring awards, and then we do not anticipate being able to fund summer awards at this time.
Just a quick one.
Senator Duckworth.
Thank you. That last thing you just said, is that fairly normal? Or is that pretty rare?
Ms. Whalen.
Senator Duckworth, it's very rare. Yeah, there's a lot of shifting things going on this year, and the FAFSA is a big contributor to that. And this spike in both students and students with need. So this is kind of I'm not going to say it's unprecedented, but it's slightly unprecedented for us. You know, there's only been a couple other times in the history of the state grant where this sort of shift has happened.
Thank you.
Senator Kupek.
Why is this microphone such a long reach in this morning? Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the FAFSA side of this, so is this just a recalculation of how the federal government is determining this, and not magically, you know, a shift in demographics? And also, did the delay in the FAFSA program also compound, you know, your problems of getting the state grant out?
Ms. Whalen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Senator Kupek. So I would say, to answer the first part of your question, I think a lot of the change in student need is due to changes in the formula at the federal level. So initial estimates of how the change to the FAFSA would impact students, we really saw, by and large, for most students, below, I would say, you know, below $100,000 AGI, their expected family contribution, or SAI, went down relative to prior formulas. So that's increasing need across the spectrum. So there are more students with, you know, a 0 or a negative SAI, but there's also students across the board that have lower average family contributions, therefore higher need. So that's a piece. And then the other part of your question, I'm sorry, remind me the second part.
The delay in the FAFSA
Yeah,
program.
so I would say the delay in the rollout of the FAFSA, the primary impact that had on our office is that we were unable to really get a good sense of what was going to happen until the 11th hour. So the feds weren't sending out FAFSA files until late spring. Our office we weren't able to load them and look at them until end of May, early June, and we kind of had to pivot as quickly as we could.
Senator Kubek. My friend, Senator Rarick.
I appreciate that comment, so. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I also am wondering, a couple of years ago, when I was talking with Pine Tech and, you know, with the Franzen Foundation and the program they were offering with free tuition for certain schools, and what they found is a lot of the students, because of that promotion, they applied and found out that many of them received a lot of, whether it was Pell or state grant funding that actually paid a lot of that tuition. Are we seeing some of that also then from the Northstar Promise, that folks that are coming in because of the promotion of that program, they actually have to go through the state grant process first before they get Northstar Promise dollars? And is that playing and having an impact on some of this shortage and the increase in families that are at the lower end of the spectrum?
Ms. Whalen.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Senator Rarick, I would say that I don't have the numbers to definitively say whether that's the case, but I would speculate that there probably is a large driver of enrollment increases, in addition to the presence of Northstar Promise. You know, our office and other, higher education entities around the state have been doing a lot of promotion of the program and thus entering college in general. So I think it would be fair to say that most likely that has had an impact, yeah.
Senator Eric?
Okay, so that was a glance at fiscal year '25, and now planning ahead for fiscal years '26 and '27, which is what is in front of us right now. So in fiscal year '25, state grant awards were rationed dramatically to offset a projected deficit. We do anticipate that this increase in spending will continue. Next year, state grant parameters will revert back to the parameters in law unless the office decides to ration awards again. And we have already indicated that we plan to do that, ration awards as early as the fiscal year '26. In addition to the increases in enrollment that we have experienced this year, tuition and fees and enrollment are projected to continue increasing through the next biennium. And overall, this indicates a structural deficit in the program that has prompted our office to recommend some modifications to the program. And we'll get to those in a quick second, but first, I wanted to give an example of how this does impact the Northstar Promise program. So as we talk about state grant reductions, there is sort of there's a link between state grant spending and Northstar Promise spending. Northstar Promise is a last dollar award, so it's impacted by changes in any other kind of aid. So that could be state grant, could also be Pell Grants or institutional aid, any kind of aid really. So in this case, what I've given you is an example of a student who is attending a Minnesota State college. As you can see here, they are likely receiving a Pell Grant award of around $2,700 for the year and a state grant award of $1,600. Most likely, they don't have institutional aid, as that's not as common at the state colleges. And because other kinds of private aid are very student-specific, I didn't want to include that, so I'm leaving those out. So in this estimate, Northstar Promise would fill in an additional $1,000 to cover the cost of tuition and fees for that student. And then this year, because we are able to offer Northstar Promise Plus, the student receives an additional award of around $400 in excess of the tuition and fees, and that is 15% of their Pell Grant. So then on the right, you can see that if the state grant award that the student receives is reduced due to rationing, their Northstar Promise award grows to fill that gap. So the state grant award decreases and the Northstar Promise award increases up to tuition and fees. And we could see something similar happen if, for example, there were changes in the Pell Grant. If there was an increase or a decrease in the maximum Pell Grant award, we might see that Pell Grant bar shift, and then the Northstar Promise award would also shift in relation to that. So that kind of gives a little bit of an overview on how the two programs are intertwined. And then I'm going to turn it over to the commissioner.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, members, I just wanted to take a really brief opportunity here to preview the governor's budget recommendation here, within the context of this presentation, since it proposes what we believe to be the most effective way to bring projected spending back within the available appropriated resources, as well as eliminate the need to ration awards. So like I had mentioned in my comments on Tuesday when we were here, I recognize that this isn't a formal budget bill hearing, but wanted you to at least have the information in front of you as early as possible, again, delivered in this state grant overview context. So, we can hopefully work together to revisit options and ultimately look at stabilizing spending and sustainability of the program. So looking forward to more discussion, but just wanted to outline what the governor's proposing here again to help stabilize spending and reduce the need to ration awards. So as you can see on the slide, and it is the bottom bullet, I believe, but the governor's proposing, an additional appropriation of $7.5 million a year, so $15 million over the biennium But the proposal has to work in combination with a lot of additional parameter adjustments in order, again, to stabilize spending. And so we're looking at those formula parameters in addition to the recommended investment of $50 million over the biennium. The first one there, and probably is the most important, it's the one that Ms. Whalen was talking about in regards to the negative student aid index, formerly known as the EFC. This will allow the agency to set a minimum parental contribution or a student contribution of $0 rather than allowing that number to go negative. And this change, we believe, is in line with federal guidance for awarding aid here going forward. And this alone will dramatically have an impact on spending. And so, we didn't have the ability, I guess, our state statute didn't really specify, what to do with that zero number or that negative number. So we're clarifying it here in this proposal. Also proposing decreasing the LME, the living and miscellaneous expense allowance, to 110% of the federal poverty guideline. It's currently in law at 115. We'll be increasing the assigned student responsibility to 51%, and that will begin in fiscal year 27. So a little bit of an on-ramp there. As well as increasing the AFR, the assigned family responsibility, to 100% of the federal need analysis for all families, again, with a positive parental contribution or student contribution. So that really is setting 100% across all different types of students that would qualify. And then Ms. Whalen mentioned it a little bit, but looking at deadlines, this particular proposal would revert the deadline for state grant receipt to the 30th day of the term in which the student applies for aid. Currently, right now, it's the last day of the fiscal year, June 30. And then looking at some modification language too. We had a little conversation on Tuesday about some agency flexibilities here, and this is an opportunity for one of them. So modifying language that governs how the agency would treat rationing awards for the program, be able to assess the AFR up to 100%. Again, that's kind of that addresses that negative SAI number. And that's, of course, only if a spending deficit is projected. So there's some guardrails there. But just wanted to put that in front of you. Again, happy to have a conversation here at this time, or when a formal budget bill is in front of you as well. And then, Mr. Chair, one more thing before we transition to our next testifier. Nikki Oliver had some clarification to Senator Duckworth's question about transfer authority.
Ms. Oliver, if you would, please come to the table, state your full name for the record, and commence your testimony when you're ready.
She's just thrilled I found a way to get her up here today.
Sorry. What do you mean? Sorry. For the record, my name is Nikki Oliver. I'm the Director of Government Relations and Community Engagement for the Office of Higher Education, and I'm enthused to be at this table. And clearly, the commissioner didn't get my text message because I was going to go 3 slides after this where it made more sense because we talk about transfer again. Yeah, we have in our appropriations language, we have some transfer authority to transfer funds, unencumbered funds from programs in that appropriation into state grant. And just to clarify as well, obviously Northstar Promise is in our appropriations law under there, so we can transfer, the commissioner may transfer unencumbered funds from Northstar Promise into state grant, but and I did ask MMB, are funds that are put into a special revenue account encumbered or unencumbered? They said they don't necessarily mean that they're encumbered when they're put into a special revenue account. But again, we do have to consider the program itself, and that program has a demand and a need too. So we don't want to deplete that program's the student need there by putting money into the state grant as well. And then your question about having a surplus in the state grant to be able to give money back to the general fund. And like Nicole had mentioned, we have all of these, not all of these. We have a little more flexibility with state grant in our transfer authority. Like I said, we have the ability to transfer money into state grant, being that state grant is our largest financial aid program, and we try to do our best to make students whole with that program, so we can move all of our financial aid programs into that when we have available funds, and we can move money. State grant is one of the only programs in which we can pull money forward from a future year with approval from MMB if there's also a shortfall in one year, but that's really, you know, a difficult situation to be in. It's really rare that we have money to give back to the general fund, because we've been really outside of this very unique situation in these years. Our staff have been really close in their calculations and projections on what the student needs and outcomes are going to be, and getting the award really close to the line. I don't know, I think you guys have been like one within a margin of error of like 0.02. A decimal point away. Except, like, this is a very exceptional year, so, yeah, so.
Thank
You're
you, Ms.
welcome.
Oliver. Senator Duckworth? Senator Umar Baden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just had a few questions about this. One of the recommendations is decreasing the living and miscellaneous expense down from 115 to 110%. Could you just tell us what that roughly is in terms of a dollar amount?
Ms. Whalen?
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Senator Umar Baden. I think it's roughly 34 million across the biennium. I just sent these numbers to Sam just before I came over here, of course. So he could confirm or deny. Okay, perfect, yeah.
Mr. Chair.
Senator Umar Baden.
Thank you. And in terms of like for the calculation for an individual student, what would that allowance, you know, per the grant amount be?
Ms. Whalen?
Thank you. Yeah, so what I'm hearing you ask is how does that impact the change in the student state grant award? I don't have that number off the top of my head, but I could get it to you.
Senator Umar Baden.
And
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That-
Specifically that component of the, yeah, okay.
And then the other question that I had is on modifying language. So earlier you had said that OHE does have some ability to make changes to the assigned student responsibility and the assigned family responsibility, slight adjustments there. So this modifying language, is that going to address any of the other components of the state grant formula, or what can we expect from that?
Ms. Whalen?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would say that the language that we have submitted to the registrar, or the reviser, not the registrar, to the reviser, it just gives us, it keeps the two parameters that we currently have, the assigned family responsibility and the assigned student responsibility, but gives us a little bit more flexibility in how those changes are applied. So currently, those changes must be applied equally. In practice, that can be sort of challenging, and so we wanted to have some, we want to, in general, keep those changes of equal dollar amounts, but have some flexibility if it doesn't seem possible to have them not be totally equivalent dollar amounts.
Senator Umar Baden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thanks for answering those questions. I'll have a few more comments, and I'll wait until after we get through this presentation. One of the most concerning things to me is the increase in assigned family responsibility to 100% across the board and getting rid of those modifiers. I'll wait and save some of my comments until after we get through the presentation. It's also noticeable to me that there's no recommended changes for tuition and fees, which is another really big component of the state grant formula. So I'll look forward to digging into that a little bit after our presentation.
All right, thank you. I will say this is kind of the end of the state grant portion of the presentation. So if you wanted to talk about those now, that would be fine, or you could wait.
Ms. Whalen, just for my own clarity, so we're taking a pause here, and we're about to hear testimony from individuals and schools, correct? This seems like an appropriate time to open up some questions about the actual policy. So do we have questions, members? Oh, they do? Oh, okay. They nodded. Never mind.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I am going to turn it over to my colleague, Megan Flores, to continue talking a little bit more about Northstar Promise.
Good afternoon. For the record, my name is Megan Flores, and I serve as the manager of state financial aid programs. We're going to shift to talking a little bit about Northstar Promise and Northstar Promise Plus. We did mention some of this on Tuesday, but just kind of a refresher since we're having a lot of conversations about the interaction between the state grant program and the Northstar Promise program. We also now have an alignment projections for both programs. As far as timing of when we give them. So just as a kind of a refresher from Tuesday, the Northstar Promise. Thanks, Nicole. We kind of break it down in our minds to the base award and the plus award. And so that base award, again, is what covers the tuition and fees portion for the student as the last dollar program. And then the plus portion is that percentage match to the student's Pell Grant. The appropriation for fiscal year 25 is $112 million for both programs, and then the ongoing and the base is $49.5 million. This is available to Minnesota residents attending Minnesota public colleges, as well as tribal colleges in our state who have an adjusted gross income of less than $80,000. The Plus Award, again, that's a little bit of an incentive or bump for our neediest students who are Pell eligible. And this year, for the current 24-25 year, that's a 15% match to that Pell Grant amount. The total number of students in our first year of implementation of this program receiving the program, we have 14,516 students receiving it as of fall, because of course we only have one semester under our belt for the current aid year. We have about 40,000 students receiving that plus component of the program. The overlap of the two, where students are receiving both a base award as well as a plus award, is 5,700 students across the entire state. The total amount we've awarded so far this fall is $44 million. Of that, $26.4 million was from the base award with an average award amount of $1,800 about. The plus component of the program was $17.5 million, and then that average was $326. So that's a little bit about program implementation so far. Of course, in being good stewards of our resources, when there's a strain on them, we're always pausing to take a look at what's within our control and what is not within our control as a state agency. We do have some flexibility. Again, we've got one semester of actual spending under our belt and looking at implementation being theory and action and where we can kind of adapt for sustainability purposes. We talked a little bit already about that transfer authority. We also talked a little bit about how on Tuesday that we can set that percentage. So currently it's 15%. We do have the ability to set that for the next 2 fiscal years at 0% if need be. We can also take some of that learning from the first year and look at the sustainability for the program and adapt some of the guidance we provide to our institution partners on what mandatory fees are within the program, as well as what kind of courses we consider when we're making those payments for the Northstar Promise program. There are some things we don't have flexibility to do as a state agency. And so as mentioned, there is not a special revenue account for all of our aid programs, only the Northstar Promise program. So any spending that happens at the end of the biennium that is left on the table, if it's not transferred in time, which is sometimes difficult to predict since student enrollment changes and demands for programs are always ongoing, we don't revert it to a financial aid special revenue fund. We're required to return it to the general fund. Again, we do our best to set all the programs with parameters where we will get all the state financial aid dollars out to our students in our campuses. We can't change Northstar Promise to cover anything other than the tuition and fees. So right now we do have some situations where we are covering non-resident tuition, and that's because the definition of a state resident in the post-secondary higher education law is different than the definition for Minnesota State and for the U of M. However, we're very glad we've been working closely with our colleagues in those systems. They've been really good advocates of students and helping them and directing them towards tuition exception of policies and appeals, and many times making those cases on their campus to consider that student or resident for tuition purposes as well. We do not currently have, actually, I think Nikki just clarified about the transfer language for Northstar Promise, so we'll skip that piece. We also don't set tuition and fees as the agency. We're relying on our campus partners. They do a good job. When enrollment is changing, it can be tricky to project, but we do rely on those system estimates for both tuition and fee as well as enrollments. And then we also, unfortunately, don't have a control over what changes at the federal level. This most recent change we've been discussing with FAFSA simplification was the biggest change to needs analysis since the Higher Education Act passed in 1965. It's not a common occurrence, this level of change. It's a more often once in a lifetime kind of change. We already spoke to some of the challenges of that, so I won't stay on that note too long. With that, I'll turn it back over to my colleague, Ms. Whalen, to talk a little bit more about projections.
All right, so I'm back to talk about numbers. So unfortunately, we do not have a full year of Northstar Promise spending under our belts to make inferences about spending for this year, but we are working as hard as we can to estimate total spending for the year given the data that we do have available. So right now we pretty much have a full fall term. I do apologize because I think that the numbers on this slide are not going to explicitly match the numbers that Megan just gave because I think they were pulled a couple weeks apart. So they're very close together, but within a couple $100,000. So if we look at this table, as of this is as of last week, Northstar Promise had dispersed $26.766 million in base awards and then about $17.5 million in plus awards for the fall. So based on this level of spending, coupled with the decreases to state grant awards that are planned for the spring and summer, we do anticipate that Northstar Promise will spend about $69 million in Northstar base awards for this year and $42 million in plus awards for this year for a combined total of $112 million. This leaves roughly a $1 million spending balance in the special revenue account that can be carried forward to the next biennium. And then looking ahead to fiscal years 2026 and 2027. So at this time, we do not anticipate being able to fund Northstar Promise Plus awards. Based on the estimated state grant parameters for next year that were released on December 16th of 2024, we do anticipate spending $73 million in Northstar Promise base awards next year and $42 million in fiscal year 27 for Northstar Promise base awards, which would leave a deficit in the program. The estimated state grant parameters for next year ration state grant awards, and I will say that some of the structural changes that were referenced in the governor's proposal would actually help reduce the strain on Northstar Promise spending as well.
So I apologize for interrupting, just a question of clarification. One, could you tell us a little bit what sort of these projections in the Northstar are based on first? And secondly, I think I heard you say that projected spending in Northstar Promise Plus had been zeroed out because of interaction with changes in the state grant. So did I hear that correctly? And if so, does that mean that these two programs are already articulated and we are already diverting some resources from Northstar towards the state grant?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So what I would say is that, so to answer the first part of your question, how are we determining these estimates? So I'm looking at fall spending data for fiscal year 25 for Northstar Promise, and then I'm making some calculations using our state grant file. So looking at students in our state grant file who would fall into this demographic, under $80,000 adjusted gross income, attending, public institution. After I've calculated an estimated Pell Grant and state grant award for those students, I am able to sort of figure out what's the difference between tuition and fees for that student. It's not 100% accurate because I don't have full data for a full year on other financial aid, such as institutional aid or private aid the student might receive. We do have those numbers, though, in the Northstar Promise file that we are collecting. So next year, we will have much more robust estimates. So what I'm doing is I'm taking those estimates, I'm comparing the fall spending estimate that I've calculated to the actual fall spending estimate and sort of weighting appropriately to bring those in line, and then applying that weight to the subsequent terms in the year. Does that make sense? I've got a whole spreadsheet for it.
Thank you for the explanation and not giving me the spreadsheet. But to that second question, could you explain the relationship between projected Northstar Promise Plus spending and the state grant deficit?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So what I would say is if state grant awards are rationed and state grant spending decreases, or if the state grant award decreases for that student, the Northstar Promise base program will fill in for that student up to tuition and fees. So how that impacts Northstar Promise Plus is that in order to set a Northstar Promise Plus award, we must be assured that there will be enough funding in the program to cover that award. So in that sense, it's an indirect impact. It doesn't directly impact it, but because we are looking at current projected spending and we're not seeing enough funds to cover those awards, for that reason, we've decided to, at this time, just announce no Northstar Promise Plus awards. That, I think, could change as estimates change.
Thank you. Senator Duckworth?
Thank you. So if I may, I think a helpful way to look at it is if there's a strain on the state grant program, like we have experienced, if you're a student who qualifies for the Northstar program or the Northstar Plus program, you're essentially held harmless for any reductions or any strain on the state grant program. Whereas if you're a student that only receives financial aid from the state grant program, you may see a reduction in your award, could be quite dramatic, and there's not going to be anything that makes up that difference, unlike the Northstar program where that difference will be made up and you'll be held harmless. Is that a fair statement?
Ms. Whalen?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would say largely that is a fair statement. The only caveat that I will give to that is that for Northstar Promise, because it only covers up to tuition and fees, there are many cases where a student's state grant might be reduced. Like, let's say, their Northstar Promise award was $500, and it was the state grant award was reduced, by $200, and they have now a $100 gap between tuition and fees. Well, their Northstar Promise award is only going to increase up to $600. So before, they would have had an award, cumulative awards that totaled above tuition and fees, perhaps, but with the Northstar Promise Plus award at least. But in this instance, it's filling in most of the gap for those students, but it may not fill in all of the gap for those students.
Thank you, Ms. Whalen.
All right, I think that wraps up the numbers for next biennium. So I think I'll just move on to the summary. So overall.
I'm sorry, Ms.
Yeah.
Whalen, if I could just interrupt for one moment. Senator Mover Baden has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to clarify, these projections, are they based on the current state grant parameters, or are they including those suggested changes that you have?
Ms. Whalen?
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Senator. That is a great question. These projections they are based on the parameters that our office has most recently issued. So they are not in any way based on the proposals in the governor's budget, but they are also not necessarily based on the parameters set in law. So because we have already announced that we will ration state grant awards for fiscal year '26, that rationing is taken into account for the fiscal year '26 Northstar Promise projections. On the flip side, because we have not announced parameter changes in rationing to fiscal year '27 for state grant yet, those, the Northstar Promise totals do not reflect any reductions in state grant.
Student Member Braden? Thank you, Ms. Whalen.
So just to kind of sum us up here, last budget session in 2023, the legislature did make a historic investment in our higher education for the state, and those efforts appear to be paying off. We are seeing record enrollment growth, especially among financial aid eligible populations. We are seeing a strain on all of our financial aid programs, and the shifts with the FAFSA and federal aid are also very historic. So these are kind of coming at the same time, and it's putting a great strain on our financial aid programs, but we do also see this enrollment growth as being a great thing. It does mean that students are enrolling in higher education, and it means that they are gaining access to the resources that they need to be more successful.
Thank you all for the presentation. Members, we're going to engage in some discussion, questions, comments if necessary, before we talk to or hear from the institutions themselves. Senator Duckworth.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I promise to be brief. I know we have a lot of other testifiers, so rather than do a few questions, I'm just going to probably make a couple of statements. I'm going to skip over a lot of stuff for the sake of time. I know that there were some challenges. We had a good challenge, more enrollment than we thought we were probably going to have, and then we had some changes to the FAFSA and the formula and all that jazz, which threw off projections and made it a little bit difficult, and things didn't play out the way we thought they were going to. What I hope that we do in the future, to the best of your ability, which I know you will and you try to do, is be as timely with notifications as possible to students, families, financial aid offices, et cetera. I don't think it's any secret here that a lot of families and students kind of got surprised very last minute with not good news, right? Financial aid packages went down. Again, not your fault by any means, but just doing what we can to prevent that as much as possible in the future, I think is important. We talk a lot about one of the goals being an increase in enrollment. Sure, but we have a two-pronged goal. We want enrollment to go up, and we also want affordability to remain. That's a critical piece of this conversation. It does our students no good if enrollment goes up, and so does the cost of tuition, and their financial aid peters out or dries up entirely, right? I'm speaking in general, not at you guys specifically, so I'm taking this personally. And part of what I foresee us going, the direction we're heading right now is you're telling us the funds are drying up. You're already pulling from future years to try to meet financial needs, and the state's looking at a $5 billion deficit in the not too distant future. So the writing is on the wall in regard to these programs and financial aid we're going to be awarding to students. They're going to be getting less. We've got more students. The need, or at least the formula, is higher, and the state's not going to have more money to plus up these funds. So we have some work to do as a team, and we need all of you to help us with that. And I think we also need to give you the maximum flexibility to move around your funds as needed to help as many students as possible. I'm not going to try to start a good debate amongst all of us up here, but one thing I think we still do need to have conversations about at some point is, does it make sense for a lot of this funding just to get grouped into the state grant fund, period, and help as many students as possible? Or is there a different approach that we can utilize to stretch these dollars further for a lot more students and meet a lot more need? So I appreciate y'all being here. And we just need some more candid assessments from you specific to the $7 million over the next 2 years isn't going to cover some of the gaps we just talked about. I think that's a pretty fair assessment. So we have to figure out how we're going to help you all do that and help our colleges keep tuition affordable for as many of our students as possible. Thank you.
Members, any other questions or comments? Senator Mover Baden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, thank you so much to the agency. I really appreciate your work, and it is very impressive how accurate those projections usually are. I know it's been difficult with the FAFSA simplification sort of being implemented and the challenges that came with that, and just, again, have utmost respect for the work that you're doing on behalf of our students and families. I did want to make comments about the governor's proposal and the concerns that I have there. We are obviously in a tough situation with the deficit that we're facing in the state grant, and we're going to need to make cuts. And when we look at the formula, where we have tuition and fees, we have LME, we have assigned student responsibility, assigned family responsibility, and Pell. We can't do anything about Pell. We can, adjust those other items. And the governor is proposing adjusting everything except for tuition and fees. The biggest concern that I have there is, again, the removing those modifiers that we have for assigned family responsibility. I want to come back to that and just talk about the tuition and fees piece for a moment. We have a document here showing the Minnesota State Grant Program parameters over time. And there's like 2 years that really stood out to me. 2010, looking at tuition maximum at 2-year institutions and tuition maximum at 4-year institutions, and then jumping to where we are in 2024. So at our 2 years, the tuition has increased by nearly $800. When we look at our 4 years, it's over $6,000. So that's a huge increase, and that's a big part of what is driving this deficit that we have in the state grant, and part of my frustration with there not being any proposal to make adjustments there, but only looking at the assigned, sort of on the other end, the assigned student responsibility and family responsibility. The other thing I will just say, because we will get more into conversation about, University of Minnesota and Regents process, but, our state grant is capped at that University of Minnesota tuition rate. The Regents are deciding what that tuition rate is. The increase was enormous, comparable to increases during the recession, despite the historic increases that we did make to base funding. So something for the committee to think about. And just to remember that we have a role to play here in how the state grant operates, and do we want to concede all that to Regents? Something for the committee to think about. Also, when when we have that cap at the 4-year amount, that also means there's more resources that are going to our private institutions. I feel like I've talked about this before, but just do have concerns about when we have money that is going to private institutions when we have not fully funded our public schools. I do think that we're gonna have to do a little bit of both. We need to have a balance here. And so we have to look at, the cost that we're willing to consider on the front end of the formula, and then how much responsibility we want, our students and our families to take. I just feel like the governor's proposal is a little lopsided here, and we'll come back to the modifiers where having everyone have that assigned family responsibility at 100% is very problematic to me. That takes away the different modifiers that we had for our independent students who have less family support, little to no support, and also for our student parents, right? So our students who have dependents. And, I just think that doesn't acknowledge the support systems that folks have, the extra barriers that our students have, childcare costs. I think there is a reason why we have had those different modifiers, and we can see how they have changed over time on the back of the document that I was also referencing. To jump up to all of them being at 100%, I think is really problematic and just not equitable. I don't feel good about the budget basically being balanced on the backs of students with the greatest need. I think we have to look at all the different components of the state grant formula. I do have a bill that would cap tuition and fees at the public 2-year institution. That is one idea that I have. I think we should talk about all the ideas that we have here at the in this committee. But I really think it's important to continue to have these modifiers depending on, the situations that our students are in. Are they independent? Do they have kids? What are these extra barriers that they face in order to access higher education? I think we're really doing them a disservice to get rid of those modifiers completely. And I'm hopeful that we can continue to work together in this committee to come up with different ideas to actually look at all the different components of the state grant formula. But again, that is my concern, that the governor's proposal was silent on tuition and fees and was essentially punishing our students who are independents and our student parents.
Thank you, Senator Baden. You know, and obviously we're going to talk about this a fair amount, and we are going to have a number of bills that can get us more granular and actually talking about solutions. So I think that that's a pretty solid thing for us to look forward to. Members, any other questions, comments, or points of discussion? All right, thanks, folks. I think we're ready to move on to our testifiers to tell us a little bit about the impact of the state grant program on their institutions and lives.
Thank you.
Ms. Fergus and Mr. Peterson, if you could, please. Come to the dais and have a seat. It's not the dais. Come to the desk and have a seat, please. And if you would please state your full name for the record and commit your testimony when you're ready.
Certainly. Mr. Chair, members, my name is Meredith Fergus. I'm the financial aid analyst for the University of Minnesota, Twin Cities. I work for the Vice Provost, Raj Singh. If you are confused with that, yes, I was here last year working for the Office of Higher Education. So just a quick change. And with me today is Nate Peterson.
Chair Putnam and members of the Senate Higher Education Committee, good afternoon. And for the record, my name is Nate Peterson, and I serve as the Director of Student Finance at the University of Minnesota Twin Cities. Today, I'm representing the University of Minnesota system, including our Crookston, Morris, Duluth, Rochester, and Twin Cities campuses, to discuss financial aid matters relating to the Minnesota State Grant. I also apologize, I'm a very fast talker, so if you need me to repeat anything, I'm happy to do so. The Minnesota State Grant is an integral part of the financial aid package for the University of Minnesota eligible students. Minnesota residents from low and moderate income families rely upon this to help fund their education. The state grant parameters issued by the Office of Higher Education are used in sending estimated financial aid offers to incoming students. These offers play a large part in students determining which institution best fits their financial needs. Both incoming and returning students look to this program in addition to the Pell Grant, institutional scholarships, other grants, other scholarships, and other Office of Higher Education programs to help fund their academic careers. For the current year, for fall 2024, system-wide, 12,099 students received the Minnesota State Grant, totaling $36.3 million. This represents approximately 28% of our undergraduate students. For our spring term, for spring 2025, first to note, we are still dispersing as this term just began for our campuses. However, system-wide for this spring, 10,887 students have received Minnesota State Grant, totaling $31.6 million. For the year, that brings us to $67.9 million, with spring still dispersing, and as we recently were notified, no summer 2025 Minnesota State Grant. With the recent announcement of the Office of Higher Education's decision to eliminate the funding for the 2025 summer Minnesota State Grant, we do expect students who may have previously enrolled to make the decision to not enroll for summer 2025. System-wide, if we're looking at the last 5 years, an average of 1,105 students per summer term received Minnesota State Grant, with an average of $1.4 million over the past 5 years. Minnesota State Grant students that enroll in the summer are up over 33% for Twin Cities when comparing between 2020 and 2024, 103% for Rochester, 11% for Duluth, and equal for our Morris and Crookston campuses. All campuses did experience a pandemic drop in summer Minnesota State Grant recipients enrolling, and all campuses have rebounded from that. With the launch of the 2025-2026 FAFSA in late November, the University of Minnesota has implemented a communications campaign encouraging our current, admitted, and prospective students to fill out the FAFSA to meet the July 31st, 2025 Minnesota State Grant application deadline. We look forward to continuing to partner with the Office of Higher Education to successfully implement the Minnesota State Grant and other financial aid programs within the University of Minnesota. Thank you for inviting us to speak, and at this time, I welcome questions from the committee.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. Questions, members? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That was Meredith. Folks, for convenience sake, I think we might hop online real quick and take care of our friends who are waiting for us there. So Ms. Johnson and Ms. Plouffe, both at the College of St. Scholastica. Please state your full name for the record. Obviously, unmute your microphone and turn on your camera and talk to us when you're ready.
All right, can everyone hear me okay?
Sounds great.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much. Mr. Chair and members, good afternoon. For the record, my name is Trish Johnson. I'm the Director of Financial Aid at the College of St. Scholastica, located in Duluth, Minnesota. I've worked in financial aid for 26 years, and I thank you for the opportunity to testify today. St. Scholastica is a private four-year liberal arts college with campuses across Minnesota, including our original campus in Duluth. With an enrollment of around 3,000 students across undergrad and grad, our flagship majors include nursing, physical therapy, occupational therapy, social work, teaching, both in person and taught via online learning formats. CSS degree is truly transformative for our students. Our student body includes 23% student of color, 29% Pell eligible. Within 6 months of graduating, 98% of our students are either working, continuing their schooling, serving in the military, or doing volunteer work. Our students and graduates have a significant impact on the healthcare industry and workforce in northeastern Minnesota and beyond. And currently, about 600 students at Scholastica are Minnesota State Grant recipients, receiving about $4 million in Minnesota State Grant awards. Each year, the Office of Higher Education informs schools of the awarding parameters for distributing Minnesota grants to students. Schools must adhere to the same parameters when awarding a Minnesota State Grant. The Minnesota State Grant is a critical component to financial aid packages. In March of 24, Scholastica began packaging high school seniors, with approximately 29% of those packages including a Minnesota State Grant. In mid-June, we were informed that Minnesota grant awards would be rationed due to the projected budget deficits. And as a result, we recalculated each student's grant award, resulting in an average decrease of about $1,200 per student. Now, to help incoming freshmen, CSS did cover the loss with our own unfunded dollars because we could not risk student attrition that close to the start of fall semester. But CSS could not absorb that loss for the entire undergraduate population. It would have been financially unsustainable. We hadn't packaged our returning students at that time, so while they experienced the same decrease, they were basically unaware of what that original award amount would have been and the net change. The timing of the adjustment was particularly challenging because it really left no opportunity for students to work extra hours to make up that amount just 6 weeks before fall semester was about to begin. In August, we heard from a few returning students who were expecting a Minnesota grant to have been a higher amount. An example is Angeline from Cloquet, Minnesota, who lost over $2,000 in a grant compared to the prior award year, with the FAFSA results looking very close to the prior year. Angeline had to take out an additional loan to cover that shortfall. In mid-November, schools were informed that the FAFSA filing deadline for the current year would be moved to December 1. So we immediately reached out to students who hadn't yet filed their FAFSA to alert them of the deadline. Despite our efforts, we did have students who missed the cutoff and are now ineligible for this grant. For instance, we have a student, Derek, from Wheat Park, Minnesota, whose parents were unable to complete their portion of the FAFSA. So now as a result, he did miss that December 1 deadline and is not going to be eligible for the state grant, which is going to be about a $7,000 a year loss for him. The mid-November announcement stated summer 25 funding would be canceled. Many of our students are actually enrolled in year-round programs, and as a result, we had already packaged the Minnesota grant to about 100 students for the summer, totaling $350,000. We did proceed with informing each of those students about the change, but the lack of funding will have a significant impact with delaying student progress towards degree completion. Example, one student, Caitlin from Minneapolis, had enrolled in our online program for summer and did reach out saying she's withdrawing for summer because without that $3,500 grant, she just won't have enough funding to cover tuition. It's critical it's crucial, it's so important that the Minnesota State Grant awarding parameters be amended to try and somewhat restore this program. Students cannot fully shoulder the financial deficit by way of reduced awards. This has got to be a partnership between schools, the state, students, the legislature, and we are so eager to see that partnership rebuilt to help our students with affordability as soon as possible. Students and families rely heavily on financial aid, and the Minnesota State Grant Program is a key, important part of making this dream a reality. I really appreciate you for your time today. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Ms. Plouffe, if you would, please, state your full name for the record and commence your testimony when you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. For the record, my name is Maddie Plouffe. I am a student at the College of St. Scholastica. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. Like I said, my name is Maddie, and I am from Cushing, Minnesota, which I want to thank Senator Utke for representing. I am a current senior at the College of St. Scholastica in Duluth, where I major in political science and peace and justice studies on the pre-law track. I have been a recipient of the Minnesota State Grant during my 3 years at St. Scholastica, have served as the student body president the last 2 years. I'm a band and choir member and have been an older sister my whole life. And I am certain that without the support of the Minnesota State Grant, that I would not have the opportunities to do and study what I love, nor have peace of mind about my brother's education. My brother has been fortunate enough to attend college at Minnesota State Technical and Community College in Wadena for their heating, ventilation, air conditioning, and refrigeration program for free, thanks to the Northstar Promise. While my brother thrives at Minnesota State, for me, going to a private institution where the class sizes are small and my professors truly want me to succeed in whatever way success looks like for me, and while challenging me to expand my mind and opinions, has been essential to my education and career development. Members of the committee, I have known my whole life that a four-year institution was the path for me and what I wanted to pursue for exposure and opportunities. In high school, I worked hard and earned good grades, participated in many extracurriculars, and created great connections with my teachers and community leaders. On paper, I was well prepared for college, except for one aspect, affording it. As a child of a public school teacher and retired police officer, my family has not struggled to meet our basic needs, but college does not fit into that category. I have been fortunate that St. Scholastica does offer merit scholarships that have financed many of my college expenses. And St. Scholastica was truly the best option for me academically and community-wise, because I have not only done well at St. Scholastica, but I have met my best friends, grown as a person and leader, and truly enjoyed my academics, preparing me to continue my studies at the University of St. Thomas Law School beginning this fall. St. Scholastica is the right place for me, as it is for my peers, who, for about 28% of them, are Minnesota State Grant recipients and depend on this aid to finance their education. Due to the state grant shortfall in funds this past summer, I have received a total of $800 from the Minnesota State Grant Program this year, but I expected, based on previous years, to receive about $2,000. Finding this out in late summer while I was already working a job that did not allow me to take on additional hours alongside having an unpaid internship led me to take on a second job during the school year. St. Scholastica and other Minnesota private colleges are fortunate to have the Minnesota State Grant, as the Northstar Promise program, while wonderful, is not available for private college students, compounding the necessity to fix the Minnesota State Grant deficit. St. Scholastica specifically specializes in nursing, social work, psychology, education, and pre-medicine training, working to better our Minnesota communities through care for others. The loss of the Minnesota State Grant funding will drastically affect how many students are able to attend private Minnesota colleges and pursue programs that are right for their needs and educational goals, and not only attend, but also thrive and have the opportunities to pursue internships, extracurricular activities, and enjoy their time in school without significant financial burden. That is my aspiration, and I hope it is yours too. I ask you to please support and fund the Minnesota State Grant Program. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Plouffe. Members, do we have any questions for either Ms. Plouffe or Ms. Johnson? Thanks very much to both of you. Now, up here at the desk, we've got just Ms. Burgess and Ms. Jigo. I did I come anywhere near pronouncing that correct?
You pronounced it correctly.
Oh, excellent. If you would, please state your full names for the record and commence your testimony when you're ready.
Mr. Chair and members, for the record, my name is Amanda Burgess, and I'm the Director of Financial Aid at Augsburg University in Minneapolis. I'm in my 20th year in financial aid at Augsburg, and I'm also a proud alum. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today. Augsburg lives out its mission of educating students to be informed citizens, thoughtful stewards, critical thinkers, and responsible leaders. With a lens on access to education, we work to enroll and graduate students who will become incredible assets to Minnesota's diverse workforce. Augsburg's traditional undergraduate population of 2,300 students includes over 65% students of color, 57% first-generation students, and 54% Pell-eligible students. Additionally, 61% of Augsburg undergraduates, more than 1,600 students, receive the state grant. Augsburg has worked to remove barriers to higher education through its Augsburg Applies to You direct admission program and supports students financially through a variety of institutional funding streams. The long-standing Augsburg Promise grant began over 15 years ago as a free tuition program for a select group of students and has continued to expand to provide full tuition to nearly 30% of our full-time undergraduates. These are low-income students who demonstrate exceptional academic promise. As an institution with a modest endowment, the state grant has allowed Augsburg to serve students from all economic backgrounds with programs like the Promise Grant. Its impact is far-reaching. When we learned in June that the changed state grant parameters from OHE would result in a substantial decrease for many of our students, Augsburg committed to making up the difference in lost dollars for our Promise students. But because this change occurred so late, we did not have the financial ability in our budget to absorb the loss among all students, and many were forced to quickly adjust their financial plans to cover the unexpected difference. For one student, the difference between the initial funds and the reduced funds was over $5,000. The student has utilized all financial aid available to her, but still has a $2,000 balance remaining from the fall semester that she's unable to pay right now. As we anticipate the upcoming changes to the state grant program, we're preparing for additional impacts to our students. One of the changes we're required to administer is the withdrawal of funds available for summer term. Last year, 192 students at Augsburg received over $364,000 in state grant funding during the summer. With the upcoming change, students will have to pay for that funding out of pocket or choose not to enroll, potentially impacting the time it takes to complete their degree. The other change we're preparing for is the requirement that students have to complete the FAFSA prior to July 31st in order to receive the state grant. This year, we had over 200 state grant recipients submit their initial FAFSA after July 31st, and those students received over $1.4 million of state grant funds. If these same students miss the new July deadline, they will lose out on those dollars. Because we serve such a high percentage of first-generation college students, we understand that they face different challenges, including navigating difficult systems like the FAFSA. While we will do extensive outreach and work diligently with students and their families to meet this application deadline, we know that this won't be attainable for some students given their complex family situations, personal life disruptions, or lack of resources and support. We're committed to our students and to supporting them financially, but without the assurance of full state grant funding, it's challenging to plan for our long-term goals of eliminating financial barriers and increasing access to education, which negatively impacts college attainment for Minnesota residents. Thank you for your time today.
Mr. Go, if you would please state your full name for the record and commence your testimony, please.
For the record, my name is Jama Jigo. Mr. Chair and members, I thank you all for the opportunity to testify today. I am a fourth-year student at Augsburg University, currently studying international relations and communications. I am also a Capital Pathways intern, currently working with NAMI Minnesota during this legislative session. However, I come to you all today as a student who receives the state grant, which is experiencing the $210 million shortcut this year. Students like myself enjoy the benefits of private higher education in Minnesota, including smaller class sizes, specialized undergraduate programs, and particularly at Augsburg University, I receive a liberal arts education committed to intentional diversity. Moreover, the amount of financial assistance from the state grant Augsburg has given me over these past few years has filled in a large gap between my tuition, meal plans, books, and other costs associated with being a full-time college student.
When I graduated from Anoka High School in 2021, attending school in an environment that promoted unique perspectives and allowed me to discover my vocation in an urban setting was necessary to me. As a commuter student who travels from the northwest suburbs of Ramsey, where I currently live, to Minneapolis for my classes. At this time, tens of thousands of Minnesotan students are about to lose access to the state grant. When deciding to attend Augsburg University, the state grant was accessible to all students who needed it and paid for a substantial amount of my cost. Throughout my time at Augsburg, the absence of a balance created time for extracurricular involvement and alleviated my concerns about finances, allowing academics to be a priority in my life. Attending a nonprofit private university has also opened doors for my involvement in the Minnesota Association of Private College Students, or MAPS, and has led to my current testimony today, along with advocating for other issues that affect those receiving state grants. As a first-generation students, my parents both came from South Sudan to Minnesota in 1998 with hopes of a better life. And the chance of receiving a quality education was one of the many reasons why they left the war-torn country. Once my parents both became U.S. citizens in 2008, my father enlisted in the U.S. Army, partly to afford my two siblings and I the opportunity to attend higher education with lowered costs due to the GI Bill and other financial assistance that is offered to active duty service members and their dependent family members. Additionally, I have applied to and received scholarships and grants through Walland and Page Education Grant in Minnesota before starting my studies at Augsburg, as programs like the Northstar Promise are not offered to students like myself. This is where the Minnesota State Grant has aided and ultimately afforded students like myself, who historically are not seen in different institutions, the chance to attend college and fulfill their destiny and be part of the future generation who will ultimately be responsible for advocating and making decisions for Minnesotans. Because I am set to graduate this upcoming fall, I am concerned that because of the state grant budget cuts this year, I may not be able to receive full financial assistance to finish my undergraduate degree, as my GI Bill and other scholarships and grants have run out for this spring. And additionally, midsummer, I found out that my aid was reduced by $2,000 last year. Between finishing my credits, interning with NAMI Minnesota, and having responsibilities within my family that I attend to, receiving a reduction in state grants not only means a shortfall of financial aid for students like me, but ultimately undermines the priority of a higher education for many Minnesotans despite their challenges, not only financial. I ask that you all please fix the shortfall in the state grant so students like me won't have their financial aid or grants reduced. To close, I thank you all for the opportunity to testify in front of all of you today.
Thank you very much, Ms. Segal. We very much appreciate you being here. Our last testifier is Mr. Haling, Director of Financial Aid for Minnesota State Colleges and Universities. I'm assuming were there any questions? I apologize for not asking, but I didn't see anything. Yeah, we're good. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Chris Halling, and I am the System Director for Student Financial Aid at Minnesota State Colleges and Universities. I think you've heard very good presentations before me talking about sort of the factual impact across systems and the individual impact upon students. And for the impact at the University of Minnesota, we're very similar at Minnesota State. I think you've seen in here we had about 40,000 recipients last year and almost $80 million in state grant. I've been working with the state grant program in financial aid since honestly the first Reagan administration, and you can do the math. It's been a while. I've seen literally hundreds and hundreds of thousands of students receive hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, making tremendous differences in their lives. And for that, first of all, I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you on behalf of all of those students. It's been a tremendous program. And I think maybe you need to hear that and remember that we are grateful for everything you've done. And moving forward, we'll see how things go, I guess. But what I'd like to talk to you about just a little bit is the fact that those hundreds and hundreds of thousands of students When I was sitting across from a student at the beginning of my career, the most important lesson I think I learned, and I've carried it with me ever since, is that each of those hundreds of thousands of students was an individual. They have their own life experiences, they have their own family, and most importantly, they have their own dream of where they want to go. And this program is one of the things that helps them realize that dream. It will make a huge difference in their life, in the lives of their children, and the lives of their community. And that's something, it really stuck with me. I used to talk about that with my staff when I was at the University of Minnesota. And we still talk about it in our system meetings at Minnesota State. I was trying to put this in perspective, and I was driving home last night from taking my 99-year-old mother to bingo at the nursing home. It was bingo night. And I thought back and I realized that from the EMTs who rescued her when she was 96 and fell and, cliche, broke her hip, to the nurses at Abbott who took care of her, to the physical therapists who helped her literally get back on her feet, to the programmers and technicians working at Abbott, to the entrepreneurs who put together the companies that wrote that software that they used, the diesel mechanics who kept the snowplows running because it was during a blizzard, the doctors who got their start, perhaps, working at one of our two-year colleges. All of those individuals had their dreams, and we helped them to realize those dreams. This is all by way of saying that our students are interwoven into the whole fabric of the state, all across the state, all the communities, geographically, demographically. They make a huge difference, and this program makes a huge difference in their ability to move their own life along, get where they want to be, and also improve the quality of life in the state. So as you move into what I know is going to be a horrifically difficult few months, you have a tremendously challenging job ahead of you. As you do that, I just urge you to remember, as you're looking at, and I know you know this, but I'm just urging you to remember, these are each individuals with their families and their lives, and you have the opportunity to fight to help make their dreams come true.
Thank you, Mr. Holling. Questions for Mr. Holling? Senator Duckworth.
Thank you. This isn't a question for you. Just have a comment now that we've heard from all of our testifiers and we're wrapping up. Which is to say this, I especially appreciate hearing from students, and I think it's very sobering to hear their firsthand experience and some of the changes that they've undergone. And I know that every student here in Minnesota pays close attention to state politics, I'm sure. Obviously, I'm being facetious. But one of the things they did probably hear over the last couple of years and maybe came to realize, or a number they heard maybe often, was 18.5 billion, followed by the word surplus. And so what it strikes me, if I was a college student right now in the state of Minnesota, and I heard that the state had that kind of a surplus, and then a year or two later saw my financial aid getting cut by thousands of dollars, I can only imagine how that would make students and families feel. It would probably fire me up. It hasn't happened to me. I've only heard the stories and it fires me up. And so I think what we all have to realize is when everything is a priority, nothing is a priority. When we increase government spending by 40% or $20 billion, it comes with a cost. And part of that cost is what we heard today. And we don't always have the opportunity or chance to fix problems with more spending. Sometimes the answer is less. If we spend less in other areas of government, we have a lot more to go a lot further for our students at our colleges and universities. And I hope that's something that we can continue to be mindful of as we try to solve this very significant problem on behalf of students and families. So I appreciate everybody bringing their stories to make us aware of the task that's ahead of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Duckworth. Others, comments, questions? Well, I'll just say briefly that I, for one, am grateful that we spent a portion of that surplus on the Northstar Promise Act and changed a lot of people's lives and helped those institutions thrive. I think it's great to end with Mr. Howling, if you don't mind. I'm sorry, I know you're trying to get out of here.
No, don't.
But I very much appreciate.
I'm very happy here.
He's like, I'm out, I'm done. I very much appreciate the tenor of your final comments, and thanks to Sam for setting you up as last, because I think that that's perfect. Because every single individual in this room is deeply committed to the value and power of higher education. Every single one here, whether you're up here or you're out there, every one of us is here because we care about higher education and we know its tremendous capacity to change people's lives. That's its fundamental purpose, is self-transformation and growth. And all of us are here committed to exactly that. The work we have facing before us is to figure out the way to get there. We've all got the same goal. We just got to figure the right way to get there. And I think that today was a great way to start that conversation, which is far from over. So thank you, everyone who testified today. Thank you, members, for being here as well. I have no idea what we're doing next because I'm not your real chair. But I can say that we're done today. This session is adjourned.
Good man.